Bright Tuty. Every student matters.
Hello, dear students. Welcome to another lecture. In this class, we are going to begin with Chapter 10 of Class 11 Education Nagaland Board, which is Cultural Perspective of Education. Now, first, let us try and understand what do we mean by the word culture. So, culture refers to the general behavior, the habits, the beliefs, the traditions, the behavior, that we have been following for a very long time. That is culture. Perspective refers to your opinion. So basically, in this chapter, which is Cultural Perspective of Education, we are going to learn the relationship between culture and education. We are going to learn about the 4 functions of education, learn the meaning of preservation, transmission, also understand how development and socialization are explained with respect to culture. So this is what we shall be able to learn by the end of this lecture. So let us begin. Now, according to psychologists, culture and education are related to each other, and not only are they related to each other, but also they are dependent on each other. So they are related as well as dependent on each other. Now, according to a few psychologists, culture may be defined as a way of life, something that is followed or believed by a group of people, at a particular time. So that is what we understand by the term culture. In addition to it, some believe that culture refers to the total beliefs or the habits, the practices, the traditions that a person follows in. Or it is a behavior of the society. It is the way one lives in the society. Culture also refers to the way music, art, literature, architecture has developed in life. Culture also means a behavior that is accepted by one and all. So as I have just discussed with you, culture has got a meaning in almost every perspective, right? It talks about your beliefs, it talks about your habits, it talks about your behavior, it talks about your mentality, it talks about music, art, literature, architecture. So basically, culture, the word, is such a wide in meaning that it covers the different activities of a person. So a person and the surroundings of a person, they are going to be very well regarded when we speak of the word culture. If a person wants to have good relations with the other members of the society, what will happen? What will you do? If you want to be in a good relation with the others, you will have to respect the traditions of the others. You will have to make them respect your traditions as well. You will have to abide by a few behaviors, somebody who's rowdy, whose behavior is not acceptable. Obviously, that person will not be wanted in the society at all. So basically, when a person wants to have good relations with the others, the person is going to create an atmosphere of a good behavior, good discipline, good desires, good aspirations, so that he is able to be well connected with all. Now, we also know that being in India, we always talk about national integration, right? All the communities, they have different cultures. the people who live in the eastern part of the country, their living, their dressing, their speaking, their eating style is totally different to those living in the western part. People living in Japan are going to be different as compared to those living in Nagaland. So every individual, who's born into this world is a part of a culture that that person inherits from the elders. Now, when the behavior that the person has, if that behavior is in accordance to the behavior of the society, that means if the behavior is acceptable by the society, we call that person as culture. So basically, we can say that the word culture has a meaning which is subject to different people. For somebody, culture may be defined as a different meaning. For somebody, culture may be altogether a different meaning, right? So, a culture which is probably followed by one person in the society might not be followed by the other. Something that I do might not be done by you, and vice versa. So basically, the kind of culture that develops in the society, that is based on the education, that is based on the religious opinions, that is based on the occupation, the monetary condition, as well as the area in which the person lives, right? All these physical domains affect and influence the culture of a society. Now, it is very clear from what we have learned so far that, there are few countries, for example, where eating the food by hand, eating the rice by hand is a part of their culture. Whereas if we compare the same to the Western culture, we talk about it in America or UK or Spain, for them, it is going to be a part of, ill manners, right? So everybody has a culture of their own. So we can say that culture is something which is there for everybody, but it is not static. It does not remain the same. It is not stationary. It keeps on changing from time to time. Something which was considered acceptable 100 years ago, for example, Naga culture, in that there was a custom of head hunting. So that was acceptable 100 years ago, but now it isn't acceptable. Similarly, if we talk about the other cultures, there was a time when marrying the women at the age of 10 or 11 was considered acceptable. That was a part of the culture, and we have seen a lot of women in the history of the country who were married at such an early age. But now, because of the changing educational qualifications, the changing surroundings, things have become different. And at the age of 11 and 12, a child is supposed to learn and grow rather than getting married. So basically, what happens is that now, with the passing generation, we have with the passing years that are added on to our life, we have a new generation of people, right? So every new generation, they are probably unhappy with something that took place previously. What is, traditional and old fashioned for me might not be the same for my parents. Similarly, what is modern for me might be old fashioned for my children. So, with growing years, with the growing age, there are a lot of practices, there are a lot of habits, there are a lot of techniques that are found uncultured, uncivilized by the people. So, what is acceptable to the society at present may not or may be a part of the society 20 years from now. So nothing is confirmed. You cannot confirm or comment about what the scenario will be 10 or 20 years from now. If we talk about Tyler, who's again a very famous psychologist, he believes that culture, the entire concept of culture is very complex. It's very difficult. Why? Because it is not one thing that we are studying when we talk about culture. It is an amalgamation of a lot of things. The knowledge, the ideas, the art, the law, the rituals, customs, everything that goes with a person in day-to-day life. So, on the basis of this definition by Tyler, we can say that culture is something more than just the materialistic needs of the society. Culture basically talks about how capable or how efficient the individual or the person is, how well he or she is acceptable in the society. So, on the basis of this definition, we know that culture is a complex term. And complex because there are different aspects of the word culture. It has got different parts. But when joined together, this is what we have a culture. So when all the different and individual parts of culture are joined together, we get a whole new idea, a whole new concept. There may be somebody who would be very smart when it comes to the brain, the usage of brain. They want to work, they want to apply logical thinking and reasoning to everything that they come across. On the other hand, there might be those who just like to be at peace and harmony with the nature. They've got nothing to do with money, they've got nothing to the usage of brain for the sake of completing a project or a report. So basically what happens is every person has their own needs and every person learns how to use or how to modify their needs so as to give himself or herself pure satisfaction. So that satisfaction can be derived by a person only when the needs of the person are satisfied, right? So basically, it is on the basis of this learning that the pattern of the society, have existed. And this pattern not only remains with the present generation, but it is surely going to pass on to the future generation as well. So this process in which culture is transferred, from one to the other, be it formally, that is by educating, or informally, that can be just by living. With somebody you learn a lot of new things about them. So either formal or informal transmission of this culture basically lays a very strong impact on the education of a child, that affects the education of the child. Let us now understand the functions of this. Now we know that every human has a different need, and the needs of these human beings will be fulfilled by different aspects of their lives. Okay, for example, I might feel complete with different things. Some literature, some music, some environment, some cooking. These are the different aspects of things which are around me, right? So the human beings exist because of culture, because of behavior, because of the habits that they have. And it is because of the culture that a person learns how to live peacefully with the environment in which they survive. So, every individual has always tried to protect the physical environment for their survival. If I'm living in one place, I would want that place to be free from every sort of danger so that I can be protected, right? This is an instinct. This is a human instinct that can be seen in everybody, even in the animals, for example. In the forest, the animals would always want that the area in which they and their loved ones live, that should be very well protected. So, no matter what part of the world we observe, there are going to be different rules for everything. Somebody will feel differently for cleanliness. For somebody, what you find to be immaculately clean and spick and span may be unclean, There are a few people who even want the drinking water to be protected because they understand how important it is. So everybody has a different way of expressing what is important for them, what matters to them, and what not. So culture is something that helps the people to live very peacefully with the others, to live peacefully in the environment in which they survive. So the kind of adjustment that an individual makes, if I am living with a family, we all understand that. When we live with the family in comparison to being alone, there are going to be so many adjustments that you will have to make, right? If you are living alone, you can eat whatever you want to. You can eat at whatever time you want to. You can sleep whatever time. You can wear whatever you like. But when living with a family, with society, there are a lot of adjustments that we are bound to make. Because it is because of these adjustments only that we are accepted in the society, that we are a part of this society basically. So it is because of the culture or the presence of the culture that human beings have become very much social. They have started behaving in accordance to the environment. They have started behaving in such a manner which is acceptable in the society. And therefore, we understand that culture plays a very crucial role in the development that takes place in the family, with the others, with your neighbors, with your siblings, and one and all you are surrounded by. So it is because of culture only that, we start to respect the things that are around us. We start to appreciate the beautiful things, the melodious things. Why? Because that has become a very important part of our lives. Moreover, we know that it is important for us to, accept it. It is important for us to respect it. Because respect is something which is very important when we talk about culture. Without respect, culture is incomplete. Okay? Your behavior is not complete unless and until you have respect for everybody around you and for people who talk to you. Anybody who talks to you, it can be a part of a member of your family. It can be somebody who works for you. The way you talk to them expresses and very clearly emphasizes on your culture. So basically, it is very important not only to develop a good culture, but also to protect that culture so that it isn't lost.